Welcome back. All right, now we're going to get into some real politics, and for that, we're very pleased to be joined by Congressman Jim Himes, Democrat from Connecticut here, and he's got really good perspectives, not just because he's going to Washington, God bless you for that, but also his background before he came to Washington. We'll get to that in a little bit. Let's start, though, with some numbers, and they're of the jobs variety. The fallout from May's weak jobs report continues today, and Obama's reelection prospects, if you look at the compilation of those moving targets that are the polls every day, they at least show there could be some, at least right now, some temporary problems. Take a look at this chart from Intrade. Now, the president's numbers have been about steady until they drop off, and somewhat precipitously, on June 1. That, not coincidentally, when the jobs report came out. Is this election, and I'll ask you, Congressman, if it's really about jobs, whether it's fair or not, will the president be held accountable what the jobs numbers are when the people go to the polls in November?
Well, I think it's undeniable that better jobs numbers helps this president. And obviously, the June 1st report was not helpful. I mean, we've now seen 3 months of pretty weak job growth. If it were 250, 300, 400,000, yes, this president's polling numbers would be a lot better. So, right or wrong, this is a major factor in this election. Now, right or wrong is the question, of course, right? This is a president who inherited, when he was sworn in, 750,000 monthly job loss, right? And obviously we're in positive territory right now, but the reality is this is going to be important. It's not just jobs, right? It's people's overall sense of the alternatives. At the end of the day, an election is between two individuals with different visions, and so that'll factor in too, but the jobs are important.
Andrew, we were talking last week. There's no quick fixes, except I'm hearing, at least from some folks, and you're closer than me, that this idea of a stimulus, a short-term one, building infrastructure projects, et cetera, takes a little bit of a ramp up. But while it might have been off the table a while ago, it may not be off the table now. What are you hearing, Congressman?
Well, I would hope so, but I'm not optimistic about that. Look, I've been saying, and an awful lot of people have been saying that, we need to invest not just billions, but ultimately over the next couple of decades, trillions in fixing our bridges, our roadways, and our railways. Just so happens we can borrow that money now for pretty close to 0% and putting people to work that would otherwise not be working.
By the way, it's not make work. These things are going to collapse, right?
Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. So the question is, why not now? Now, unfortunately, you've got a political stalemate because the Republican Party is still saying, despite what's happening in Europe, despite what happened in this country, that the answer is not spending more money on our bridges and railways, but cutting the spending of that money. So you've got that deadlock right there.
We have an important election tomorrow, an important referendum, if you will, tomorrow, given the recall. And I'm talking about Wisconsin. Republican Governor Scott Walker, he certainly tweaked teachers, state workers, and a whole bunch of folks when he stripped away their bargaining rights, collective bargaining rights. But since then, $60 million has poured just into that recall campaign. And trust me, the vast majority of it from outside of Wisconsin. Independent conservative groups supporting Walker and unions backing the Democrat Tom Barrett. But this election is about a lot more than just Wisconsin. It could be a harbinger of things to come. And Congressman, a lot of people felt, we covered it here, that, hey, Walker was in deep trouble. You look at the polls now, though, he looks pretty good. There's either two big overarching messages: that unions don't have the clout they used to come election time, or two, that Democrats are going to have some trouble here since Citizens United raising as much money as Republicans. A lot of people thought this was going to be ground zero in terms of the labor fight here. Labor didn't come through with the money, at least in the same numbers that the opposition did. What's your big takeaway about Wisconsin?
Well, number one is it's a mistake to think that this is some big harbinger for what happens in November. Look, this is, Scott Walker, some dramatically specific and big changes in Wisconsin. So I think, of course, the pundits are saying, how does this relate to November? The answer is probably not very much. Very, very different issues. However, some things are pretty dramatic. You made reference to it. Scott Walker's forces, his side, is going to outspend the other side by 20 to 1. That's money that wouldn't have come in 5 years ago, and we'll see what happens. Now, with respect to the unions, of course, yeah, they didn't bring in anywhere near the kind of money that the other outside groups supporting Walker did. But remember, a lot of what they do is boots on the ground, meaning knocking on doors and getting people to show up. So I think it's a little early to say exactly, who wins and who loses and what the value of money is against door knocks.
Pundit, do you agree here? This is not a harbinger of things to come for November?
I think it's absolutely not a harbinger of things to come. If there was a recall election on Chris Christie in New Jersey right now, he would probably win, Christie would, but nobody doesn't think that Obama's going to win in November. Obama's going to win New Jersey come November. So be careful about reading too much into this. I think it may be an indication of the power, the limiting power of unions at this point. But keep in mind where all that money is coming from for Walker right now. It's from all these big businesses that benefit from weaker unions.
Well, certainly the White House view, I take a differing point of view. The White House views this as a bellwether in November, and that's why we've seen President Obama hands off on Wisconsin, no involvement at all. But I do agree with the congressman's point. Don't write off the Democrat in this race. Unions traditionally, they can't match you with the money, but they can match you with the foot power and the organizing and the turnout on Election Day.
Well, trust me, I think there's a lot of governors right now who are scared, you know what, conservative governors, and then they see if Walker survives, they may be a little emboldened going forward. We'll see. Now, this next one, I'm begging you, tell me that I'm delusional. Debt Fight 2.0. Do we all remember how torturous it was last summer sitting at this desk, having to go through as we're heading off a cliff, and I'm still trying to figure out why? Is it really possible, we could be reliving the same fight, and let's see what we accomplished. Oh, we were the laughingstock of the world. B, our credit rating went down, and people lost jobs. We're not doing the stupidity again, are we?
Gosh, I hope not. And look, I don't think you're delusional. I think the speaker is delusional for thinking that going out as he did 2 weeks ago and saying that we're going to do it again is somehow going to help either the economy, which it certainly is not, or his party. I mean, I just can't believe there's anybody in America who says, let's do what we did last August all over again. You know, we
There's
forget.
a school of thought, though, that you guys will get blamed if they'll hold up, if you guys won't, let's say, go for the whole Monty when it comes to the Bush tax cuts, that if you don't go for basic, if you try and put conditions here on some of the changes, that you guys will be holding the bag in November, not Republicans.
Well, who knows? I think if you look at last August, I think the Republicans and the Tea Party in particular, their polling numbers went down hard as a result of that Budget Control Act and all that led up to it. Look, you know, unfortunately, the action is not going to be before the election. The action is going to be after the election when the tax cuts do expire, when the automatic spending cuts kick in, when we arrive at another debt ceiling. So, you know, those are key moments for this country, but they probably don't happen before the election.
I always hear, oh, they should spend time on more important things, or Congress doesn't have the time. We're going to waste how much time on a debate that we all know, unless literally people are into pain, that no one's going to let us default as a country, you would think, especially after the lesson last time. So why are we going to waste all this time? You know, guys, people are home right now going, doesn't Congress have anything else to do? How would you answer their question?
Well, first of all, I'd ask you why you're asking me. I'm a Democrat in the House of Representatives. It was not just the Republicans in the House of Representatives who said, let's take the country to the brink of default. It was their presidential candidates. Michelle Bachmann said, let's default. So anyway, I don't have a good answer for you because I agree with you. It is a catastrophically bad idea.
Or do you think they're really serious?
No, look, the Republican Party is made up of some people who honestly think that we should default. They're a little crazy, and by people who are scared of those folks of being primary.
Just a little, Congressman.
Look, right now, you know, Barney Frank said it right. A journalist asked Barney, you know, are all the Republicans in Congress Michelle Bachmann? And he said, no, they're not. The way he phrased it was, half of them are Michelle Bachmann, the other half are afraid of being primaried by Michelle Bachmann. And so you got a lot of quiet Republicans who know better.
Like that last week, didn't we, Andrew? By one sitting congresswoman, actually from our region.